It's like it's good enough. And then like physics, just get enough of that stuff. I have no idea. How do you figure out? It's true. That's a beautiful way to now whatever.
Oh, it can go up? Yeah. Yo. All right. I wondered why they got rid of my box. Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to see you. Thank you for attending the lecture, and let's go ahead and get started. So, if you look at the schedule on Canvas, right, you remember how to read it? You take your eyes to that leftmost column. You work your way downward. You see the red text. That is today's date. You move your eyes rightward, and you'll find 3 yellow blocks, okay? Do you remember what those mean? What does it mean? What do you got? Let's go. Yeah, right? So you see a yellow block, assignments are in progress. You've got something that you should be thinking about, something maybe that you should be working on. In this case, you've got Exploration VR, Exploration AR, and that equipment lottery. All of them, you can see the red blocks here, are going to be due on Monday, a day where we will not have any lecture, okay? But it is also a day where we will have a couple assignments release. So we'll talk a little bit about those today. How many of you have started with Exploration VR, Exploration AR? Okay, gotten started a little bit. Very good. One really interesting thing that we're going to talk about today is that when you are working on the bleeding edge, when you're working with new, young technologies like AR and VR are, like there's often a surprising amount of friction in that, okay? And friction, what does that mean? Friction. I mean crashes. I mean long loading times when you're opening projects, glitches, bugs, rendering issues, account creation. So I think there's it feels like there's 3 or 4 different accounts you have to create just to get some of your VR and AR stuff working, okay? And so one kind of interesting thing about this first week is that it is all about pushing through that friction, okay? In this first week, we want to prove to ourselves that we can get our VR apps running and working, okay? We can get them working with the headset. We want to prove to ourselves that we can get iPhone applications running on our own device, right? Android applications building and running, okay? And if you can do those things, it's going to make our later weeks, okay? It's going to make our future assignments, our future projects much smoother, okay? And so that is a big goal for this first week. Have some fun. Remind yourself of what VR and AR is like, and also, unfortunately, grind through some of that friction, okay? Get all the accounts we're going to need created, get your devices set up into developer mode, that kind of stuff, all right? That's the kind of week it's going to be. Okay, so a reminder, if you ever want to get back to our lesson plans, if you want to find some slides from the course, you want to review that stuff, you can always click on one of these links in the second column, okay? You can click on Lecture 2 for today's lesson plan. And before we really get into it, I want to show you a pretty cool startup. And this startup is really cool for many reasons. One of them is that they are actually local. You could walk downtown and you could go find them and you could talk to them right now, okay? And a year or so ago, that's actually what I did. This is Wide Awake VR, okay? Sometimes called WAVR, right? W-A-V-R. They are an Ann Arbor, Michigan-based company. They were founded by one of my friends, actually. His name is Joe Go. He's a serial entrepreneur and has done quite a few interesting tech startups. And this is a company that actually is a little bit shocking in a way. This is a company that says, hey, guess what? If we do things right, we don't need anesthesia when you get certain operations. In fact, what we can do instead is we can distract you with a VR immersive environment so that you won't feel the pain or need anesthesia for certain operations. Making things cheaper, making things a little bit less risky, okay? Anesthesia can be dangerous. Sometimes allergic reactions happen, stuff like that. And so let's go ahead and check them out a little bit, okay? Here's actually kind of a creepy video. We're going to give it a watch. Let's take a look.
The pupils are widely dilated and do not react to light. If the anesthetic is continued, she will soon stop breathing altogether.
ether was first developed in the 1820s, 1830s, and then the Hewitt inhaler came along. It was literally a gauze pad over a respirating mask, and they could drip the ether onto the mask, and lo and behold, they had some way of metering this dose, became reliable. Happened at the same time as the other part of the Industrial Revolution for medicine, which was sterile services. I cannot get a patient into my hospital without having them offered a general anesthetic or sedation for a simpler surgery as a carpal tunnel release.
What the public doesn't understand are the risks inherent with having surgery and anesthesia. We're dealing with a chance in hundreds. In one large study looking at the risk of death, they found that for elective plastic and orthopedic surgery,
1 in 333 patients were dying.
24 hours to go. I wanna be sedated.
We're living in a world where we're almost sleepwalking our way to iatrogenic death through administration of unnecessary anesthesia. Studies are also showing that, particularly in that older population, cognitive decline is a very real risk.
Put me on a plane.
I'm under general anesthesia, I won't feel a thing, I will be fine, I will wake up just fine. But the truth is, I've seen myself, people having difficulty waking up.
as the population ages, we need to explore alternatives to sedation, general anesthesia, especially in minor surgeries. I have had great success introducing virtual reality into my hand surgery practice.
What I see virtual reality as for this purpose is exactly the inverse of general anesthesia and sedation. Instead of emptying your mind, you're filling your mind. This is a simple stereoscope from towards the end of the 19th century, and in these stereoscopes you would place a simple card. It's exactly the same technology that we're using today, only we're placing a telephone or something similar into a box.
There's no that kind of foggy drug effect in your mind.
I think virtual reality could be used in every physician's office.
The procedure lasts only as long as it actually lasts. There's no pre or post recovery.
My patients will say to me, just put me out, doc. But I can tell them, I won't put you out, but I can put you somewhere else.
So that's the basic idea here. And something to keep in mind, this is a promo video made by the company, right? Made by the startup. And so you have to keep in mind that they may have certain biases in what they tell you. However, the gambit here is pretty clear, right? They think that there is an issue with overuse of anesthesia in medical practice, and they want to provide an alternative that might be cheaper, it might be safer. Medical costs are a very, very big topic these days, and so it's kind of an interesting place for them to be innovating. Do you have a hand?
I was wondering if they do it in conjunction with both tools.
I'm guessing they probably do, and I've got one more video that I'm going to show you. So I was watching this, and I was thinking, oh, he looks familiar. I'm pretty sure this is Joe, actually. They have him filming this right here. This quick cutaway. Very dramatic, right? And then they go into his eye. I think that's him. Anyway, all right. So we got this company here, and they have a website. It's a pretty cool website. It's worth studying this stuff and how startups present themselves, in part because on your final project, you will be making a website kind of like this. You will be a startup in perhaps a very real sense. A reminder, some of our best performing teams in this class have actually ended up with like many thousands of dollars in grants to actually turn these things into companies. But anyway, right? A great website, big logo, the patient experience reimagined, safer, less costly, more sustainable, okay? So you already have a pretty good impression of what this company is and what they're trying to do, okay? This is VR plus surgery, okay? And that comes across immediately. given the media that they have. One really interesting thing here is that they have Waiver, right? They have Wide Awake VR headsets, it seems, right? So is this a company that manufactures their own headsets? No. Okay, no. That is very hard. Okay, when it comes to manufacturing, actual creation of the headsets, there are only a handful of companies that do that. What you're looking at here is a white label situation. Anyone heard of that before? White label? So basically, there are companies out there who will sell you a kind of generic product, okay? Whether that be a laptop, okay? Whether that be a headset, and it's basically a product that you can then put your brand on, okay? Put a white label on it, and then you can customize it often to fit the needs of your business, okay? So anyway, it looks like they may have found a white label headset, because I'm not exactly sure what headset they have here, but they have a kit that they will send you. So I'm not exactly sure how much it costs. Maybe we can find the price here. But okay, why should you use this? Safer than sedation, more effective, fewer infections, more fun, which is something that you don't typically associate with surgery. Less anxiety, less pain, and 30 to 60% less costly. I suppose because you don't need to use the actual materials for anesthetics, but you also we need to wait at all for the anesthesia to kind of come on and then to dissipate at the end, okay? Turn on the tablet, turn on the headset, check the connection, put on the headset, and then press play. They have some custom software and a catalog of content for you to use to try and keep you distracted, okay? Hand surgery, cosmetic surgery, podiatry, dermatology, right? I am not a medical professional, but it seems to me that a lot of these things are kind of lighter surgeries, maybe a bit less risky. Emergency trauma, though, that seems pretty terrifying. So I'm not sure. They have a partner, Exception MD Network. I don't know much about them, but it is good to see that they are working with other medical companies. I want to show you something that is very cool. Companies like this, startups, right? They're trying to sell themselves as the next big thing. But should you believe them? And if you are ever an investor one day, or if you are a software engineer deciding which company to join, right? Should I go work for this startup? They seem promising, or should I go work for this other company? Well, how do we know if they're real? How do we know if what they're doing is going to have a real, significant, like actual impact? And this is one of those things that I really like. So here we've got a video. This is some pretty raw footage of an actual clinic in Texas. I believe they do mainly kind of hand-related surgery. And you're going to see them with actual patients and actual doctors using the actual device. So let's go ahead and take a look.
So we're doing this procedure for patella and trigger release with the patient without any sedation at all. The patient's being relaxed by nice soothing scenes by a virtual reality. So I have colleagues who have been doing this also for joint replacements. Ok, cierra la mano, ábrelo. Ok, ya mira como el dedo del medio ya no se traba. Ciérralo. Ok, ves, hasta lo bajas mejor que los otros. ¿Ya lo ves? Ok, bueno, te vamos a dejar que tranquilizarte ahora. Estamos acabando. Bueno, la mano izquierda lo hicimos hace cuánto tiempo?
Hace un año.
Hace un año. Pero estar totalmente despierto en vez de tener sedante, ahora ya te puedes ir a casa, puedes comer sin ningún problema, no te va a dar ningún náusea, nada así. ¿Cuál método es mejor para usted?
Can you hold the glasses for him, please?
Llamar porque estás despierto. Ok. Ok, bueno, ya está todo, ok.
Muchas gracias.
Señor Luis, ¿cómo fue con la sin sedantes, con la operación sin sedantes, solamente la realidad virtual? ¿Cómo se sintió?
Yo me sentí muy bien. Me gusta ese procedimiento porque no me duermo y a mí no me gusta dormirme y es muy agradable.
Exacto. ¿Te habíamos operado la mano izquierda hace cuánto tiempo?
Hace un año.
Hace un año y comparar los dos. En ese tiempo estaba básicamente como dormir.
Okay, right? So you can watch the rest of it if you want, and they have other media on their website as well. But the idea here, right, is that you've got a patient who actually had surgery on their other hand for something similar, and he did get knocked out for that, right? He was sleeping, and yeah, not everyone can do that. Not everyone wants to do that, right? Not everyone likes the idea of being put to sleep to get through a surgery. And they don't like the after effects, right? So nausea, the inability to eat for a little while, the increased duration of the entire operation. And so that is the pitch that this startup is making. And their pitch from an XR perspective is that this new technology, these headsets, this immersive software is the difference. They couldn't really do this with 2D quite as well. You see a little bit of this, right? So how many of you have had dental work in the last few months? Anyone? So I recently just had my normal cleaning, and like a lot of dental places, they will lay you back, and what do you see on the ceiling but video, right? You see some sort of TV channel or a film going on, and it's not that effective, is it? Like, it's not that distracting unless it's something you're really interested in. It's just kind of noise to maybe distract you a tiny bit. It'd be very interesting to see what the difference would be with a much more immersive experience. Anyway, so pretty cool idea, pretty innovative and interesting use for XR. It is another example of like XR and medicine seem to be very, very tight these days, okay? So pretty good stuff. Now, one thing I can't find in here, which makes me disappointed, is I cannot find, so we can pay. Yeah, we could pay right now. We could send them some cash, but I'm not sure why we would. I guess this is just an invoicing form or something like that. But it's not immediately clear how much they charge for the kit. Maybe they want you to contact them and then they will let you know. Okay? They do show us some content. So they have content, looks like some environmental content. It looks like they have some 3D video. So you can look around and kind of view a bullfight from a different perspective. You can get to kind of a more of a tropical experience or a more winter experience. They brought this product to Ann Arbor Spark for the IGDA like a year ago. And I did this one, International Space Station, which made me a little bit sick because you're just floating, right? But pretty cool stuff. My understanding is that they sell a kit and then they sell a subscription for the content. So if you're a hospital, you can buy some headsets up front. That's a little bit more costly. And then there's an ongoing fee that you have to pay if you want to keep access to the content. And that fee, that recurring subscription, helps them produce more content over time. And then, there he is, Joe. Yep. Joe emails me. I always love speaking with Joe. He emails me like once every 2 years, like on the dot. And he always has a new startup to show me when we meet. So it's always fun to meet with him. Anyway, so when we look at a company like this, we won't spend a ton of time doing it. We're just about done. But we want to evaluate these companies, these teams, these products from a few different angles, okay? Because these are the same metrics that we'll be evaluating your Project 3 on, okay? When it comes to novelty, when it comes to social impact, when it comes to financial sustainability and the emphasis on XR, we're asking ourselves, how new is this, right? Is this something that has a lot of competition? Or is it something that is very fresh, something that's going to stand alone? Like, what do you think? Like, have you heard of anything kind of like this? I always love to ask because, yeah, there are a lot of things out there, a lot of companies, a lot of products, a lot of teams, and sometimes there is a very similar service out there. But like this product actually seems kind of, the first time I heard of it, I was like, no way. Like this isn't going to work, right? Like you're going to skip anesthesia and a surgery is going to go well, right? But yeah, if you keep it to smaller surgeries, it actually starts to make a lot of sense, right? So pretty novel stuff. Social impact, right? Right? We're not trying to entertain someone. We're trying to lower their healthcare costs, right? We're trying to make sure that they don't have complications after they get back home. See their family faster, okay? Reduce the risk of an allergic reaction or death that can sometimes occur with anesthesia. Seems pretty impactful, right? Very strong case you can make that this really could matter to some people. Financial sustainability, this is probably the weakest one. We don't have any numbers on their website. That's definitely disappointing. It would be very nice if we could size up, can this company make a sustainable profit on this line of work? Okay, but we don't really know. So that's not a good metric right there. That's disappointing. I wish they would fix that. Maybe I'll text or email Joe and ask why they didn't put it on their website. And then XR emphasis, right? So there have been attempts to do something similar, right? Dental practice, you got the videos there. I'm sure some hospitals have something to try and distract you, but they're probably not going to do as well as a immersive VR headset, right? Something that blocks your vision entirely when it's on, something that can give you really good immersive 3D sound, okay? So pretty impressive stuff, okay? This isn't something you could do with just traditional video games, probably, okay? Or at least you couldn't do it as well. So, impressive startup, okay? I really hope this goes well for the team. I remember talking to Joe, and the startup was growing pretty quickly, and then do you know what happened? What happened a couple years ago? Yeah.
Metaverse crash?
Well, the metaverse crash didn't help, but a bit before that, the pandemic occurred, and then because of the inflation following the pandemic, rates rose. Now, when interest rates rise, like interest rates and how they're managed and what they do is like a very interesting economic topic that I'm not qualified to talk about. However, in a very general sense, when interest rates rise, that fights inflation, but it also makes it very difficult to raise money. So if you are a startup, you'll find that suddenly it's harder to get loans, it's harder to sell equity, and it's harder to raise cash to keep your small startup growing and developing, introducing new features, or even just sustaining. Okay, so Joe told me that like when the rates went up, when the pandemic's inflation really hit, they lost a lot of steam, and they're just kind of trying to hang on. Okay, I'm nervous that every semester when we look at this startup, we're going to go to the website, and it's going to be like closing shop, like thank you for your business, like see you later. Okay, and hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully they can pull through, and because I think it could have potential. I think it's pretty promising stuff. Anyway, so when you look at these companies, and we'll have a new one to show you every day. Hopefully we won't spend quite this much time. This is just the first one. But please think about, what could I do with XR, right? What problems have I noticed out there in society or in my life that we could use AR or VR to solve, at least in a tiny way, okay? And hopefully by the time we reach Project 3, you and your teammates will have a lot of interesting ideas, okay? All right, so let's keep going. A really cool headline I saw this morning. So you're going to be learning game engines in this course, right? Unreal Engine first, and then Unity. In fact, you are using them a little bit, a tiny bit, on your Exploration VR and Exploration AR assignments. Now, diffusion models, right? Generative AI, right? Neural nets. We have a blog post here, actually a paper out of Google Research that says basically they're game engines, right? Has anyone ever played the first Doom? Famous first-person shooter game. I'm guessing this might look familiar to you. It's a big part of popular culture. Well, what you're seeing right here looks like Doom. But in fact, there's no Doom code running right now. The inputs are being fed into a neural model, which are then generating the images for you at about 20 frames per second. So pretty fast. However, basically this model was trained on a ton of gameplay footage from Doom, and now it can kind of sort of try to recreate it for you as you play through. In a way, you're basically sending it inputs, and it's dreaming up what it thinks the next frame should probably be based on the data from Doom that it was trained on. So this is to say that when it comes to the creation of digital virtual worlds, it feels like there's going to be a lot of interesting new ways to create virtual worlds, maybe not too far into the distant future. Okay? There is an interesting chicken and egg problem here, though, because unless you make the game, how can you train on footage and data from the game? Okay? So a bit of a chicken and the egg, but it's a paper I haven't read yet. I encourage you to check it out if this is the kind of thing you're into. And if you go to graduate school, over half of our graduates in this department are investigating AI of some sort, okay? It's a very broad field, but you could find yourself in graduate school working on interesting things like this if you want to. So pretty cool stuff, huh? On Thursday, you have an opportunity for extra credit. This is IGDA Ann Arbor. This is a monthly meetup of game developers, animators, XR enthusiasts. And on Thursday, so tomorrow, we will be having someone, basically Andrew Yang. He is the CEO of Michigan's largest mobile game studio. They make mobile anime-style gacha games, which you can kind of see back here. And in addition to being a bigwig business guy, Andrew Yang is an illustrator. So he draws a lot of anime, a lot of characters, and he's going to be talking to us about what it's like to be an artist in that field, okay? And so most of us are engineers in here. However, there are a lot of other amazing disciplines out there, and you might be surprised by how technical illustration can be. All right. And so if you're interested, if this sounds interesting to you, if you want free dinner, free pizza, I encourage you to come on by. And if you take a selfie with Andrew, I think we have an extra credit assignment where you can actually get some points for doing that. Okay. Yep. Extra credit, IGDA Ann Arbor attendance. In general, our assignments encourage you to kind of get out there and immerse yourself in XR and game dev. And so you can get a tiny bit of extra credit by going out and participating in events like that. Okay? So, something to keep note of. Your Exploration AR assignment, which is due Monday, requires you to spend at least a tiny bit of time with one of the ultra-expensive HoloLens 2 headsets. And these things really are super expensive. I think, Nikki, do you know how expensive HoloLens 2 are? They were like $2,000 for a while.
I can look.
Yeah.
Looks like 3,500 right now.
3,500. Yeah. Ooh-wee. Okay. So it's like, do you want an Apple Vision Pro or do you want one of these HoloLens 2 devices? So they're very impressive pieces of hardware in many ways, and it's going to feel very unique to use them, okay? You won't forget it anytime soon. So I encourage you to hang around afterward if you can, 3:30 to 5:30. All you need to do to complete that part of the assignment, get the headset on, play a little bit of RoboRaid or the Galaxy app, and then take a selfie with your phone showing you with the headset on. And that's all you got to do, okay? You'll get some points by embedding that image into your AR exploration report, okay? So, and it shouldn't take too much time. All right, very good stuff. So next week, okay, we're going to have no lecture on Labor Day, on Monday. But you will have 2 assignments releasing, and you can see that from the schedule, okay? Tutorial VR and tutorial AR. Now, not gonna lie, these assignments aren't the easiest in the world, okay? These assignments, you'll be able to get to their assignment spec early if you go to the agenda for today, or you can wait for them to show up as hyperlinks on the schedule itself. But these assignments are a bit more involved. Okay? If this week is about rekindling your passion for VR and AR and experiencing them a tiny bit, next week is about actually building some semi-serious stuff in these engines. Okay? Now, these are going to be mostly guided. Okay? So we're not throwing you off the deep end here at all. All right? what you're going to do is you're going to follow a tutorial document that looks something like this, okay? And it will walk you through what you should click on, what you should do, how to get stuff working. There are lots of videos that you'll be able to watch that will kind of guide you through the UI and tell you what you should do. And so it's not going to be too tough. However, it will take some time. These are not super short, okay? And by the end of it, you're going to have a functional working magic show, all right? And you'll get to customize quite a few things in it to make it your own. And you will have, on the other assignment, you'll have a pretty functional auto show, okay? With your own vehicles of your own choice, and they'll be moving in a fashion that you desire, okay? And so next week, definitely don't sleep on it, okay? Next week, get to it as soon as you can. Make use of your office hours if you can. We will not have office hours on Monday. Yeah, that shouldn't be too bad. Sometimes we joke, well, it depends, okay? Next week can be a very difficult week if you have a lot of issues with your laptop or issues getting your accounts set up, okay? Or issues getting into the Viz Studio to finish the assignment. It can be very difficult if you don't start early, okay? So please, next week, Tuesday or Wednesday at the latest, try and start chipping away at these assignments, okay? It'll be much more satisfying to you if you do a little bit of this work every day. It'll help with memory formation as well. You'll learn the engines faster, things will become more satisfying and less stressful. If you run into a really weird issue, like your project is always crashing and you don't know why, that's no big deal if it happens on Wednesday of next week. If it happens on Sunday of next week, you're dead, okay? There's no time to ask for help if you wait that long, okay? So, anyway, does anyone have any questions about any of this stuff? Yeah?
Is this studio open on Monday?
I don't know. So it does close sometimes. Do you know?
The whole building is closed.
The whole building is closed? Okay. Starting at 5 on Sunday. Okay. In the past, what I sometimes do is I extend the deadline out like that number of hours so that like the next day you can get a few hours to finish. I'll have to think about whether we're going to do that. To be safe, hey, just take care of these exploration assignments as quickly as you can. You shouldn't need to use the Viz Studio, hopefully, on Monday. Shouldn't be a big deal. And, yeah, hopefully we'll be okay. Nikki, do you know if it's going to be closed Monday?
I think so, yeah.
Wholesale? Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. Okay. All right. So, today, I want to go over some course logistics, and then our mission is to kind of start thinking more about game engines, okay? There's no getting away from it. This course, a big part of it, is becoming familiar with the impactful Unreal Engine and Unity, okay? And the faster that we can learn these technologies and really get an intuitive feel for them, the faster you're going to be able to really do the fun stuff, which is making super cool applications and designing new impactful ways to use XR, okay? So we got to, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the course, all right? So, anyone like SpongeBob, right? Okay, so there is a time coming when I'll ask that question and no hands will go up, be like, what's SpongeBob? And I'll feel super old when that happens. Anyway, and by the way, every semester, there's like one less hand that goes up. I feel one hand older. Okay. All right. This is one of my favorite clips from the series.
What's his name? What's his name? I got nothing on a name. Come on, baby, what's her name? We threw out his name!
Okay. So basically, the context here is that SpongeBob has been focusing very heavily on becoming a great waiter, a great chef. So much so that he's actually forgotten what his name is, okay? That's bad logistics. A good example of terrible, nasty organization in here. So we don't want that for this course, okay? All right, so in this course, when it comes to lectures, what you'll notice is that our lectures are going to take on a bunch of different flavors, okay? Number one, they happen from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. every Monday and Wednesday, and we take a kind of 5-minute break in the middle of them, okay? When it comes to the flavor of the lectures, you're going to find that you've got some standard styles of lectures, kind of like today. We're going to be talking a little bit about history and theory. We're going to have some discussions, anecdotes, and stories from the industry to kind of fuel and build up your knowledge base when it comes to XR, okay? But we will also have some lectures in this course that are just very industrial, okay? They are very implementation-based. We will have days where we just get together and we basically program together, okay? In Unity or in Unreal, we build out some interesting architectures and design patterns together, and then you can go and take that into your projects, into your homeworks, to dramatically expedite your process with them, okay? So hopefully you'll enjoy those. We will, toward the end of the semester, have playtesting lectures as well, where basically we don't meet together, but many of you will be meeting in here, and you'll actually be playtesting each other's apps, okay? To try and find out, like, okay, are they easy to use? Are they understandable? Do we have bugs that we have to fix? Stuff like that, okay? It's very, very fun watching other people use your stuff, right? You build something so that other people can use it. And I think when you're in like classes and you're doing assignments, it's easy to forget that, right? I remember in 281, we had a really cool project where we had to write a cheat detection algorithm, right? So we could detect plagiarism in a bunch of documents. And it was really fun to make it, but we never really used it, right? Like it was more of an academic exercise. Anyway, so in the world of game dev, in the world of XR, it's that magical moment. You're going to love it. When you hand that experience off to someone else and you get to watch them smile, you get to watch them discover all of the cool features and secrets you've put in there. Okay? And I hope you're looking forward to it. There's a chance we'll have some guest lectures as well. And these tend to be kind of interesting industry talks. They're Q&A based usually and fairly visceral. And hopefully you'll enjoy those. A quick reminder, this course is very young still. It is definitely in beta. So one thing that you'll probably note is that the lectures are a little bit shorter than they'll eventually be. And we really appreciate any feedback you've got on anything. Okay? The homework assignments, right? The lectures, the films that we're going to watch later this semester. I hope you'll provide feedback, and give us your honest thoughts as you can. And a reminder, there's that feedback button on the bottom of the assignments where you'll get extra credit for doing so. Okay, a quick talk about the schedule, all right? We only have about 14, 15 weeks to get you to the point where you are competing for internships, okay? With XR companies, you're going and nailing that first job, okay? I was super excited. Has anyone played like Genshin Impact? Okay, anyone heard of that? The MiHoYo stuff, Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero. This morning, someone told me one of my students told me they were able to get a job like directly from their coursework at MiHoYo, which is super cool. Anyway, right? So the first couple weeks, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on exploration, okay? So your exploration AR and VR assignments, your tutorial AR and VR assignments, we are just trying to kind of get a feel for VR and AR, immerse yourself, and build that passion back up, okay? Then we're going to spend about 3 weeks and we're going to go heavy on VR, okay? We'll be talking a lot about Unreal Engine. That means we'll be making our own kind of affordance-based interaction system, a really interesting, useful architecture for VR. We will then have 3 weeks or so where we're entirely focused on AR, okay? And we're going to be building in Unity. We're going to be building that Pokemon Go variant, okay? People have told me that recruiters get super excited when you mention that you like made your own version of Pokemon Go. I was thinking about why this is, and it occurs to me that Pokemon Go, so there are a lot of recruiters out there that don't play a ton of games, but if they've played one game or heard of one game, then they've heard of or played Pokemon Go, okay? And so they get super excited when you talk about that. So hopefully that'll be fun for you to make your own version, okay? And then for the final right? Hopefully 5 to 6 weeks. It's not a long project, but we're going to be making your final kind of social impact project, okay? Something for society, not just for fun. And at the end of that, we have to have you ready to get an internship or compete in interviews for your first job, okay? And so, we got the exploration assignments, okay? We're doing those right now. Hopefully those will be pretty fun for you, not super stressful, but if you start them late, they will be, okay? I guarantee it. You got your tutorial assignments starting next week. These could be a little bit tough. You got your magic show, you got your auto show, and then we got your first project, okay? Your VR project. You're remaking a space for posterity, right? For historical reasons. You're capturing how it feels to be a part of the CSE community with interesting interactive objects and NPC characters and stuff like that. You've got your Pokemon Go clone, Ann Arbor Go. And then you've got your society project, whatever you want that to be, okay? And that's like neuro VR kind of stuff like that, all right? So that's what the schedule is going to be. And if you want the granular, low-level schedule, you'll find it on the Canvas page, okay? We've already talked about how to read it, right? This is where you'll find all your lecture plans, your slides. If there are downloadable stuff, you'll find it there as well. You'll find assignment links. You'll find deadlines there. If you see a green box, it's start, yellow is work, and red is due. I apologize if you are red-green colorblind. Maybe I should have chosen a different color scheme, but I'll have to upgrade that later. There are some missing elements, though, okay? You will not find on the schedule rubrics for your assignments, okay? You'll only find those on Canvas. If you go to Canvas and go to an assignment, you should be able to see like exactly how we're going to grade certain things. So if you go to your Exploration VR assignment, you'll see exactly the columns we're going to click on when we go to grade you, okay? And so it would be helpful to you to not only look at the schedule, but also look at the assignments on Canvas as well, okay? All right, some quick grading and policies. It's a very common thing to ask, well, hey, did you know you can get 2 points of extra credit for going to the IGDA on Thursday? I don't know if it's that much, but okay, well, how much does 2 points mean? All right, is that super valuable or not? Well, in this case, yeah, like points are pretty valuable, okay? There are 1,000 points in this course, around that much, okay? And so that gives you a pretty easy bit of math to do to figure out how valuable a certain assignment is, okay? Your explorations happening this week are 100 points, okay? That's a lot, all right? And there are so many points in these earlier, easier assignments because, yeah, we want you to have a good grade when you finish the class, okay? And you should be able to get most of these points and without too much trouble. The tutorials next week are also 100 points. That's slightly more challenging to get. Your culture assignments, which are the films we're going to watch this semester, are also going to be 100 points. Those are pretty easy to get. And then the projects. So your first project, 15% of your overall grade, 150 points. P2 is 150 points. And then that final project is a big one. About 40% of your final grade is going to come from that project, okay? So by the time that we get to the end of the semester, you're doing your final project, we want to have you rolling, okay? We want to make sure that you've got a strong foundation of knowledge in Unreal and Unity, and that you've got some thought put into what kind of P3 you want to make, okay? And then you've got a little bit of points for participation, and this generally doesn't, you don't have to do much of anything to get those points, but you will lose participation points, like potentially hundreds of them, if you're not contributing in a congenial and effective manner to your projects, okay? We have a lot of technology to detect like which team members are not contributing to their projects, okay? Do not assume that you can just skip out on work and let your teammates do it and that this will end well for you, okay? So please be congenial with your teammates, okay? When you get to that first project, we'll talk more about it then. But in this course, you want to be doing, vaguely the same amount of hours of work as your teammates, okay? And if you do that, you'll be fine. If you get sick and you have to miss some time, hey, no big deal. That's not going to be an issue. But in general, things do not go well for you if you try and dodge work and don't contribute the way your teammates are, okay? All right, so extra credit. Like, there are several opportunities in this course, and they'll kind of come along and be revealed and be talked about as they appear. They don't affect the curve, okay? In fact, this course has pretty much never had a curve and probably won't this time either. The target grade for this course is A- on average, but in reality, like, our students work super hard, you do a great job, and the vast majority of you probably will get an A, okay? But you have to put the work in, okay? This is not the kind of course where you're going to put a lot of work in and then an exam is going to come out of nowhere and knock you down from an A to like a B-. I was in a few of those courses where I got wrecked by the exam at the end. We don't have an exam, okay? You put in the work and you listen to feedback and you're going to do just fine, all right? But, you know, you do need to put in the work. The collaboration policy is pretty nice, okay? It's pretty soft. The minor external asset usage is generally allowed, but if you use something that you did not make in this course, then you should write that into like a credits.txt document in your submission, okay, or at the base of your project. Essentially, if you didn't make something, you can probably still use it, but we want to know about it, okay? And we definitely don't want you downloading projects wholesale, okay? We've seen a lot of projects. There are projects on the asset store, on the Unreal Marketplace that you can just grab, and we're going to notice, and we're not going to be very happy, okay? So check the assignment specs individually for rules and restrictions. You'll often find them chilling out at the top of the page, if you've got any. Some assignments don't have any. You'll usually find restrictions right up here, okay? So just make sure you read the assignment spec. All right. And please do not copy code directly from your peers. If they're on your team, you can do it, of course, no worries. You can always discuss general concepts, and you can always discuss assignments at like a high level. Okay, like, hey, what's a general approach that maybe is useful to investigate? That's fine, okay? You can talk about useful functions and nodes, okay, in Unreal, for instance. And you can share code with each other that is general purpose and not explicitly tied to a project. But basically, if you're working on a project, just don't copy and paste any code from anyone else's project, and you're going to be good, okay? Don't look at someone else's project code, but you can look at other code for just experimental stuff. Don't copy project or assignment specific code, and do not use any external assets, models, stuff like that, without crediting or documenting them. Okay, question. Can you use AI code on this in this course? Did we talk about this on Monday? So the answer is yes, okay? The way to think about AI assistants, ChatGPT, who's using GPT? Anyone? Who's using Claude? No Claude fans? Claude's good? Oh, in the corner, let's go. What about Gemini, Google? Anyone? Okay, all right. The best way to think about them is think about them as 24-hour office hours from someone who might occasionally lie to you. So you should verify anything you get, okay? So AI assistants are a little bit controversial, right? You can misuse them, right? You do not want to be using them just wholesale, copying and pasting code that you don't understand. However, what you should do is, if you have a question about, what's a good way to start doing something? I'm in Unreal Engine and I want a certain function. I want a node to move my character. That's a great question to ask. Hey, ChatGPT, do you know of any good nodes that can help me move a character through the world? Okay? This is basically the same as looking up a YouTube video to demonstrate that concept or looking up documentation. If the AI lies to you, as it will, on occasion, you'll know very quickly because you'll attempt to find that node or use that node and it just won't do what it said it would do, okay? But please, right, don't abuse the AI assistant. Make sure that you don't just copy something the same way you would from Stack Overflow without understanding it, okay? Look at something that the AI assistant says, here's some code you can try, and then ask it, why did you make this decision? How does this function work exactly? I noticed you did this. I don't understand what that means. What does it mean? Okay, interrogate those bits of code, and you will quickly develop your own understanding, your own mental model of how these very technical ecosystems work. Okay, if your experience is like mine, you'll discover that AI assistants can dramatically accelerate how quickly you learn a new technical concept because of that interactivity, that feedback. It's like office hours, okay? It's way better than documentation. You don't just discover a new function, you can ask additional questions about it, okay? And get great examples. So please make use of that, okay? And don't feel bad about it. But if you get a lot of code from an AI assistant, please tell us about that too, okay? In your credits.txt, just tell us which nodes were recommended and stuff like that, okay? And it'll be no big deal. And yeah, don't download an entire project. Okay, if you didn't create it, we want to know about it. Create a credits.txt and tell us about it, okay? Now, I know what you've been thinking, okay? What you've been wondering this entire lecture. In this course, can you use Shrek in your projects, okay? And in EECS 494, the answer is no. But this is not EECS 494, okay? This course is more chill, all right? A little bit slower and a little bit more free form. So the answer is yes. The answer is yes. I think in all of my hundreds, actually I've got many thousands of slides on various topics at this point. This is the only animation I've ever made in Google Slides. So I put in a lot of work for this effect right here. I hope you liked it. Okay, anyway. So unlike EECS 494, you may employ licensed characters in some of your projects, okay? But not your final one. Why not your final one? Well, your final one is going to get a website. It's going to be at a big showcase, right? With people coming through and using it, professors, community leaders, business people. And if you are releasing a genuine, real product to a market, as you're kind of doing on your final project, you don't have a license for Shrek, okay? You can't just go to the internet and grab images of Mario and sell Mario, okay? That will lead to very bad things very quickly for you, all right? Unless you go and obtain a license for it, all right? So the United States federal government has an agency called the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and they, on occasion, they make games. Now, they don't make the games. They actually hire external studios to make the games for them, and then they get put on the EPA's website. So that's actually what my company, Arbor Interactive, did for a while, right? The government would pay us money. We make environmental protection games. It's kind of fun. But you don't want to end up like this. So one of the EPA's commissioned projects actually stole music from the game Yoshi's Island DS, and it was put into one of their Flash game projects. And so when that happened, the studio got into big trouble. The agency got into big trouble, and they had to quickly remove the game and then take the audio out of it, okay? And so this is to say that, yeah, like even government agencies in the USA get in trouble for this on occasion. Be careful that you don't accidentally do it, okay? In general, you need to care about licenses, and not so much in this course, but in general. Have you ever gone to a GitHub repository or a GitLab repository and you see a file like this, license.txt? Have you ever seen that? So this is a license file, and if you click on it, it will basically tell you a message from the authors saying, how can you use this? Can you just take it? If you do take it, can you sell it? Or maybe you're not allowed to sell it, but you can use it still if you're non-commercial, okay? Stuff like that, all right? This is a very simple license. It basically says you can do anything with our code that you want, but you're not allowed to sue us if you don't like it, okay? So you can do anything except sue us, and that's a very common license. This is usually known as the MIT license, a very, very simple license. This is the Godot game engine, a really great open source game engine. I want to make a new course that uses Godot. but that's going to take a couple of years, I think. Here's another example, OpenVPN, a popular open source project, and right on its website it says, yeah, we're the BSD license, which is a very permissive license that basically lets you do anything you want, okay, except sue them. All right, royalty-free assets. So how do I find things that I'm allowed to use? Well, opengameart.org is one website that is just full of awesome stuff. Images, audio, 3D models, and a lot of it is public domain license, which means you can do anything you want, okay? Absolutely anything, all right? But there are others, the Unreal Engine Marketplace, the Unity Asset Store, Sketchfab.com, freesound.org, pixabay.com. All these websites are just full of stuff that you can use without worrying, okay? And most of this mainly matters on the final project when licenses matter. So you don't care about this for a few months. But in general, because you're getting to the end of your college career, right, you've got to start caring about licenses, okay? So be careful. Yep.
What's your take on AI-generated assets?
AI-generated assets. Yep, totally cool, in my opinion. So there are a lot of image generators these days, like DALL-E 3, Stable Diffusion. Some of these are getting like video models, which are very impressive. Sora was demoed, OpenAI. That's going to make some splashes when it comes out to the public. Yeah, you're allowed to use them, but like everything that you didn't make in this course, if you do generate something, we want to know about it in credits.txt. Okay, very powerful tools coming out. So, and I know there's been a lot of discussion about what this means for artists and art in general. As far as this course is concerned, we don't talk too much about the ethics and morals of that. We're more about the idea that the genie is out of the bottle right now. And so at the very least, we need to use these tools so that we can understand what they're capable of, while society, debates about whether they should be regulated and in what form and stuff like that. Okay? So that's my take. All right. Participation in this course. Must you attend every lecture? The answer is no. Must you attend lecture on time? The answer is no. The lectures are recorded. They are available on Canvas. When you find the button that says recordings on Canvas, it'll actually take you to a YouTube page. And that is where I will upload the Twitch recordings after lecture. Usually it takes a couple hours for them to get there. If you want to watch in real time the recording, then we're at twitch.tv ayarger. However, if you are on here, please note that I don't see or watch the chat, so you can chat. Thicky TV. Oh, Nikki, nice, good job. So I will not be watching and interacting with that chat too much. Okay, we got Inception going on here with the recording. Okay, let's see. When are things due? Typically, all deadlines are at the start of class. Now, this is not always true. So if there's a break coming up, an academic break, it might be due 1 minute before that break starts. Usually that's at like 11:59 the night before. But please just keep an eye on the schedule, keep an eye on Canvas, and you'll know when those special deadlines are, okay? But typically, everything is due at 1:30 as class is beginning. Now, 1:30 is considered late, so get it in by 1:29. And I recommend uploading earlier. Some of these deliverables and projects can get really big. And if you're on like weak Wi-Fi and you're trying to upload a 500 megabyte project file, that's going to get real dicey, okay? You'll be watching the clock and I'll be watching you sweating in the back of the room, okay? Wondering if you're going to make it on time. There are late penalties in this course, okay? If you are late but under 24 hours late, then you'll get a 20% off penalty. But we don't grade anything that is 24 hours late or later, okay? And here's the Python program in our heads that we use when we're applying the penalty, okay? So please submit early. Make a safety submit. You can submit as many times as you want, and you can always tell us to grade an earlier submission if things go haywire at the last moment. And for some of you, they will, okay? The official timekeeper is going to be Canvas, okay? Whatever timestamp Canvas applies when the upload finishes and gets submitted, is what we'll use to grade. If some disaster happens, we're probably not going to extend you or give you an exception, okay? We will extend assignments and homework deadlines, but only if something happens that is truly out of your control, okay? And you'll be asked for proof, okay? If Canvas just doesn't work for you for some reason, we'll only extend it if it's a general outage applying to everyone. This is to say, please upload early, okay? And be careful. So some resources for you, all right? We have not as many office hours as I would like. This is a bit of a smaller course, and so we can't provide as many office hours because we don't have as much staff. However, we do have a number of days here for you. We've got office hours on Mondays and Wednesdays. You can use these if you start your assignments early. We've got office hours on Thursday and as well on Fridays, okay? And so I highly recommend that you get your projects, your homeworks, going pretty well before you hit the weekend, okay? As we might not be able to help you as well once you hit the weekend. Though we will still be watching Piazza and Discord and stuff like that. Let's see here. Yep, so check Canvas for office hours. In this course, you are going to run into difficult problems. You're going to run into annoying little bits of friction. Oh, Unreal is crashing, right? Why is Unreal crashing? Okay, how can I fix this? Oh, I need to implement a character who walks, but then they turn to walk around the building, right? NPCs for Project 1. And how do I do that? What kind of function should I do that? How can I check where the character is, where the actor is? Well, when you run into a problem in this course, one thing you want to be very careful about is you don't want to become blocked, okay? Has anyone ever heard that term in like an industrial context? Okay, what does it mean to become blocked?
Basically, you have a challenge that can only be solved by something you can't do.
Yeah, pretty much, right? You've become blocked, you've hit a challenge, and it's something that you really can't solve on your own, okay? And so what do? Well, in this course, what you do is you give yourself 15 minutes to try and experiment, do some Googling, okay? Try and solve the problem yourself. And you should time this. After that 15 minutes is up, you got to move on, okay? You have to move on to something else. So post your question to Piazza or ask ChatGPT, okay? And then work on something else. Work on a different issue. It's kind of like you've started up a background thread for all of the 482 students in here. You launch a background thread. Now you've got the instructors, you've got your peers looking at your problem on Piazza, and maybe a quick, good answer will come in 5 minutes. Maybe it will come in an hour. It doesn't really matter because you're working on something else while that problem sizzles in the background, okay? So post to Piazza, work on a different issue, and if we can't solve it on Piazza, or you just need to have it solved quicker, then you take it to office hours when the next one comes up, okay? But the important thing here is that you must avoid smashing your head against the wall for 5 hours straight. As it turns out, a problem that might take you 5 hours might take an instructor like 5 minutes because you're only missing a tiny piece of knowledge, okay? I cannot tell you how many times I've had a student come into my office hours and say, Austin, Prof, I've been trying to fix this thing for 3 hours. And I'll look at their problem and I'll go, this is a little checkbox right here. You have to click this. Boom. Solved in 3 seconds. But yet it cost the student 3 hours. Okay? This course is not designed to be super time intensive or super difficult. But you can make it both of those things if you're too stubborn. Okay? And you don't ask for help and do research to solve your problems quickly, okay? So please don't feel bad about it. Don't be prideful about it. Programming is a very social thing. There's this stereotype that engineering and programming is like you're in your basement, you're hacking away all alone, right? That's not how it is, okay? Programming, engineering is incredibly social if you want to be good at it, Okay, so get good at it. Get comfortable with asking your peers, asking your friends, instructors, asking the AI. Okay, and you'll have a fantastic semester, and you won't have many late nights if you do that. Okay. Anyway, if you need private correspondence with myself and the rest of the staff, xrcoursestaff@umich.edu is a good one. You can also email me directly, but it might be slower because my assistants will not see that. Piazza is also a good place to ask questions. Asking questions on Discord, not so great, okay? Discord, someone asks a question, we answer it, and then that answer gets buried, and then the question gets answered again. Piazza is really good at helping you find questions that have already been answered, and so please use Piazza for questions. We use Discord for announcements and for exhibition, so posting your cool stuff so that everyone can see it, okay? Health is extremely important. I'm talking about physical health and mental health. You cannot learn effectively unless you have both of those, okay? So please reach out to us, all right? Your instructors, we are here to help you. We have seen a lot, okay? And we have many tips and strategies to get you back on the track. We can also usually give you perspective when things go wrong, okay? Things to put you at ease, to get your confidence and your morale back up. So if you're ever feeling like it's all falling apart, right? You're falling behind, right? You're just having a terrible time. You feel depressed, okay? Please reach out to us. Email us or DM us, okay? We're always happy to talk with you about that stuff, and we can usually help you get back to a better track, okay? We want this to be a great semester for you, and not just from an output perspective or productivity perspective or learning perspective, but we want you to have some fun in this course, okay? We want you to feel pretty good doing it. So we can help you. Please reach out and help us help you. CAPS is also a good resource on campus if you're having difficulties. And the number one rule of this course, please communicate with us, okay? If you've got problems, if you've got feedback on the course, if you're uncomfortable about something or you're having struggles, please reach out because we love to help you, but we cannot help you if we don't know what problems that you face, okay? So please reach out, and we'll do our best for you, all right? Does anyone have any questions on the logistics of the course? So this is the kind of thing like syllabus week stuff that I don't like to lead off with, which is why we didn't do it Monday. On Monday, right, we talked about this a bit in 494 earlier today. Do you remember like the last film you watched, right? Think about the last film you watched. How does that film begin? Does it begin with two people, the main characters, sitting in a room talking to each other about the state of the world and the rules of how this film's universe works and, what we need to do? No. Now, how do most films begin? Any idea?
Action sequence.
Yeah, some sort of drama, some sort of tension, some intrigue. There are some mysteries. They might be answered. They might not right away. Maybe they're answered a bit later. But the film is trying to hook you, okay? It's trying to immerse you and engage you in the world. And then once you're hooked, they can deliver that exposition. It's a little bit slower, a little bit more boring, important exposition, but they can't really deliver that stuff until you're hooked. And basically, right, this is for any kind of engagement, including course engagement, okay? So this is why I like to deliver some of the more boring stuff on the second day and not the first day, okay? Anyway, so we've got our course logistics out of the way. One big thing we need to talk about is actually all around us, the space that we are in, okay? The visualization studio, you might not realize how special this space really is, okay? It looks like just a big room, right? It's got some computers in it. Well, we got plenty of those, right? But no, the hardware in this room, there's a reason there's a lock on that door, okay? There's a reason you can't come in through there or through there, all right? The visualization studio has a lot of very expensive, fairly rare equipment in it. The headsets in front of you are $1,500 headsets a piece, okay? MetaQuest Pros. That's actually something you'll discover on your Exploration VR homework, okay? I just gave you the answer, by the way. And this space, right, has received a massive amount of investment. These computers, right, are filled with some of the best graphics cards around. And the staff has just done a phenomenal job of allowing us all to use it. And so, right, you go to Michigan State University, they have a phenomenal game development program. They have wonderful XR courses. You know what they don't have? They don't have this. They don't have anything close to this, okay? And many universities don't have this, all right? This quantity of excellent VR headsets, excellent computer hardware and software. And so this visualization studio is the reason this course exists. And it is wonderful in many ways, but it also will produce its own friction, okay? Which we got to talk about. How many of you plan to use this Viz Studio? Like, you don't have your own VR headset, you don't have your own gaming grade computer. Like, we got to use this place, okay? So a lot of us, have to use this place. I have to use this place for some of my own experiments, right? Now, if you have your own VR headset and device and your own computer, gaming grade, that's awesome. And you can use that in this course. But many of us are going to be in here using it. In many ways, this is a really unusual course, and we are very, very fortunate, okay? Software engineering and research requirements are actually very modest, okay? I remember when I was getting an Uber to Meta headquarters, and this was a number of years ago, and I was talking with the Uber driver, and we were talking about programming, and he could not believe that he actually could go to the library, download Python for free, the Python interpreter, and that's kind of all you need to get started, right? Computer science. That's extraordinarily rare. Do you realize that? If you are an aerospace engineer and you want to get started, you need some serious stuff, okay? If you're a software engineer, you just need a Chromebook maybe. If you go to the library, you don't even need that. But compare that to mechanical engineering or aerospace or chemical engineering, right? You need wind tunnels. You need laboratories. You need expensive chemicals. You might need clearances for some of those chemicals because they don't want you reenacting Breaking Bad, okay? We have what is perhaps the most accessible discipline in all of engineering. And that's really, really special, okay? It may partially explain why there are so many people enrolling in and engaging with computer science these days, okay? You can just get started. You don't even need to go to college to start building impressive stuff, to start building a company, okay? However, VR and AR, this course is a departure from that reality, okay? It is very, very different from most programming, okay? You need a very expensive VR headset device in order to do most VR programming, okay? You need also a lot of space, all right? You might have a good computer at home that could power VR experience. But you look around and you got no space. You can barely stand up, okay? And that's a big problem. Space is expensive, okay? Especially in Ann Arbor. My goodness, all right? And even with AR, sometimes you need very specific ecosystems, okay? Like you need an Apple device, an Apple computer if you want to make Apple iPhone apps, all right? By the way, how many of you have an iPhone but have a Windows machine or a Linux machine, okay? All right, congrats to all of you. You're playing on the hardest difficulty in the course, okay? Now, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. There's a way to get past it. But the fact is, if you want to make iOS device apps for your iOS device, you need to find an Apple computer, okay? And if you don't have one, you'll have to use some across the hall in the Groundworks laboratory, okay? You got an Android device? Yeah, you're golden, okay? You can make those from anywhere. So this is all to say that this course is going to have some friction that you might not have felt in a while, okay? Right? There are some things that are going to kind of block you, and getting around those is going to be really valuable. It's something that you're going to have to do, okay? And we'll help you with that. Now, we're actually a little bit over halfway through this lecture, so what I want to do is I'm going to throw some music on and go ahead and use the restroom. In 5 minutes, we'll come on back and we'll finish talking about the Viz Studio. We'll get into some game engines, okay? See you then.
I just joined the course.
Hey, welcome.
And I am not on the piazza.
Okay. What is your? Let's see. What's your? What's your email?
Irvine CHIRVINCH at the.
Wait,
yeah.
Irvine what?
CH.
CH?
Yeah.
Okay. At UMich.edu.
Yep.
And I'll also. So you're registered officially on Wolverine Access?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Great.
Yeah, I swapped over from 494.
Swapped from 494. All right. It really does take a lot of time. But again, as we said on the first day, it kind of melts away for a lot of people. But I think if 494 was interesting to you, I think you're going to like this course as well. Okay? Yeah, no problem. Okay, cool. Hey.
I just wondering, because I've already taken Michael Gordon's 2 courses about AR, and all we use are Unity.
Yes.
And I just wondering, like, for this course, like Unreal Engine and Unity, like, what's the percentage?
Yeah. So we kind of went over it a little bit earlier, but basically it's half and half. But it depends on what final project you decide to do. So let me go grab the first again. Were you here for the first lecture?
Nah.
Okay.
I mean the orientation for another degree.
Oh, got you. Well, you should definitely go and review. Are you part of the Canvas?
Yeah.
Okay, you should definitely go watch the lecture recording if you can. So basically, the first part of our course is going to be all about VR. We're going to be using Unreal Engine. We're going to be building out an affordance-based architecture for interactions. So how can we very quickly add logic to like a light switch in the room, right? Or a copy machine. You're going to be building let me see here. You're going to be building a recreation of one of our laboratories. Recreation including interactables. So that's VR in Unreal. That's going to be 3 weeks. The second project is going to be AR, and that's going to be Unity. It's going to be Mapbox. And it's going to use AR Foundation. So you'll be building a Pokemon Go clone, kind of like this, okay, using GPS stuff, also using AR stuff. And then the final project, you get to decide what that is, okay? So you could end up with a final project like an Unreal Engine VR driver's education simulator, or a drunk driving simulator, or a chemistry, molecular educational program, right? Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, right now, because I actually have like a half-down project for Unity.
Okay.
It's kind of teaching people to calm cat. So like you're just like calming cat, like raise a cat like in VR environment.
Nice.
So I purchased like animated cats.
Okay.
From Unity Assets.
Okay.
And I just I think I did it like because I used this project for the SI 6659.
Okay.
And it's kind of up and down because there's a lot of like collisions in those models.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the haptic feedbacks.
Okay.
So I'm just wondering like.
So you can use when you start the final project in this course, we don't want you just grabbing an existing project and pushing it forward. We do want you to start from scratch, or roughly from scratch. And you can make a VR game in Unity. That is not what this course will teach you, and we won't help you to do that. So chances are, if you make a VR project in this course, it will be Unreal Engine.
Oh, okay. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, yes. And a big reason to take this course, if you're a general purpose game developer, is this is the only course I know of that will teach Unreal to a semi-deep level.
Sure.
So that would be one reason you'd want to take it.
Yeah. And I'm just curious about like for right now, like in VR field, it's more Unreal or more Unity in VR.
I would say more Unity based.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
both are used.
Okay.
Yeah.
But for like large VR game, would that be like Unreal more useful?
Possibly. Well, if you're aiming for very realistic art styles, Unreal annihilates Unity there. So Unreal is where you go when you really want leading edge aesthetics and special effects.
Yeah, for sure. Because like I have like cats in the game. And,
okay.
Fur should be like more realistic. So, thank you.
Hey, what's up?
Really quick question.
Really
So
quick.
the Mac, I could actually, I'll ask you after.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about the Mac at the end of this lecture.
I was just wondering because I'm in this spot where I need to develop on Mac.
Yep. You'll be fine. Yep. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to it. So, our course has this hardware requirement that you might not be used to when it comes to courses at University of Michigan, software engineering courses. But there's going to be other elements of friction as well, okay? Because we have these really new, bleeding-edge, immature technical ecosystems, okay? AR and VR are still fairly new. Okay, the DevKit 1 from Oculus launched in 2012, and while 10 plus years is usually pretty long for technology, right? XR has really kept evolving and innovating, okay? There's been a lot of competition in that space for that entire time, okay? Smartphones are starting to stabilize, right? They're not changing a ton, okay, year to year. Same thing with indie games and game dev in traditional sense. But XR is still rapidly evolving, okay? And as a result, the scene is still pretty immature, okay? There is a proliferation of very diverse devices with different brands. There are many different kinds of headsets, okay? Many different approaches to software in that ecosystem. And as a result, there's not a whole lot of stability and consolidation and standardization yet, though it is coming, okay? Here are all the different, hey, you say you want to work on an AR app? Well, okay, you want to make AR apps. Are you going to use Apple AR Kit? Okay, or maybe you're going to use AR Core from Google. But wait a second, Snapchat has their own Lens Studio platform. And of course, you could use Meta Spark for AR, or Eighth Wall, okay, or maybe Huawei's solution, or Vuforia, or Wikitutor Zappar, okay? And they all have different features. They all have gaps, okay? And if you choose one and it's the wrong choice and it dies a year into your project, sorry, okay, you have to start again, okay? And so it's a little bit scary sometimes, all right? This is what it's like to be in, in a rapidly developing ecosystem. It's a little bit intense. OpenXR is trying to standardize a lot of these devices and the software and interfaces used to interact with them, but they're still pretty recent creation, okay? There are very high hardware costs, okay? A lot of these headsets are very expensive still, okay? And in general, there are fewer XR developers than there are for general software, okay? As a result, there are fewer bugs being caught and fixed, okay? So you might run into software that's a little bit less stable than you're used to, okay? A few more crashes happening. The market adoption has also accentuated this as well. The ecosystem is still immature. And here's the big takeaway. When you are operating at the bleeding edge of anything, there's going to be way more friction. There's pain at the bleeding edge, okay? The higher highs are there, but the lower lows are also there. You can make some of the coolest stuff, okay? Not many of your friends are going to have VR and AR applications on their portfolio, okay? Because it's just rarer, okay? However, because of that, there are going to be some moments when you're like, oh my God, Unreal just crashed again, okay? That's the third time in the last 2 hours, all right? Okay, and I want you to mentally prepare for that right now. It'll make it go a bit better, okay? So let's talk really quick about to what extent development is possible and in what circumstance, okay? You have a smartphone, okay? So it's almost certainly going to be possible for you to make your smartphone apps, your AR apps. But with VR, we're going to need to use the Visual Studio, okay? In this course, there are different types of assignments you will do. You will do VR assignments, this vertical column right here, and you will also do AR assignments. And this will be simple for you based on the equipment that you have available, or it will be a little bit less simple for you based on what you have available. Okay? How many of you are Windows plus Android users? Okay? Super easy for you, no big deal. Okay? In fact, you can actually do the equipment lottery, get a VR headset, and you can do the entire course from home. No Viz Studio needed. Okay? If you use Windows plus iOS, how many of you do that? Okay? For VR assignments, you're probably good to go. You can do the equipment lottery. You can get a VR headset checked out to you. It's all good. But when you want to do AR assignments, you need to, get your mobile device running with your software. You're going to have to find a Macintosh system with Xcode and Unity to make that happen. Now, it just so happens the only ones I was able to find on the entire campus are right across the hall in Groundworks, okay? So that's pretty convenient for us. If you use a Macintosh, you will not be able to make VR projects on that Macintosh system. You will be in the Viz Studio using these headsets and these computers. Not the worst fate in the world. These are great computers and headsets. There are some weird software challenges, but I'll talk about that in a moment. And if you do Mac and iOS, you'll be pretty good to go outside of VR as well. Okay? If you're using Linux, I have no idea what your situation is, but I do know you'll figure it out because that's just what Linux users do. Okay? And so good luck to you. All right? Okay. The Viz Studio. Finally, let's talk about it, right? Some amazing pros of being in here. Great hardware and very special and unique hardware as well. 24/7 access is possible. In fact, I think after this, tonight, I'm going to send all of your unique names to the staff. I think they'll just give you swipe access right away, okay? But the big thing here that you should all know, please, when you use the VR headsets, always get your cables off the ground when you're done and wrap them around the headset, okay? Otherwise, you can roll over the cables in your chairs, and then we break the $3,500 headset, and then we're toast and we get kicked out, okay? That's not good. Okay, it's nice and quiet in here most of the time. Lots of space. It's really great. Some cons is that there's a very odd storage situation on these computers. Okay, a lot of the storage on these computers is actually networked and not local. That's really good for some reasons, right? So you can have files on this machine, place those files on a network drive, and then go across campus and you'll find those files on the same networked drive. The challenge, though, are performance issues. If you put your projects on a networked part of the drive, the storage, they will never load in Unreal, okay? It will take like 5 hours for your Unreal project to open up, okay? So we'll talk about that a bit more. And the software is a bit limited. It's a bit annoying to travel here. I've been told it can be smelly in here. I don't know if that's true or not. I've never smelled that, but I've been told that the EECS departments and buildings are a bit smelly in general, but I'm not sure if that's just Reddit speaking. Anyway, and there are some equipment limits and there's some sound limits as well, okay? I want to talk to you about the odd storage situation and the limited software. When you look at files on these computers, you might see a weird path like this. Do you see this? It's like, it's not even on the C drive or the N drive or the D drive. It's like // storage.edu, a URL, and then an actual local file path, okay? Now, that is telling you that you're on some sort of networked, weird, remote disk, okay? And that is super spooky in this course, okay? Right, good for security and decentralized computing, but it really messes up applications. A good example is that Unreal Engine will be very angry at you if you try and use one of those locations, okay? It might not even let you create your project. So you might have to look around and put it on the C drive in particular, okay? Use the C drive instead. The problem, though, is that C drive is local. That's great, but that means your project will be stored only on that machine. which means if you walk in the next day and there's some other kid using the machine, that means you have to fight them, okay? Or better yet, don't fight them. Just make sure that you're putting all of your code into a Git repository so you can clone to another machine that isn't being used, okay? Another warning is that local storage gets wiped in this lab. So if you put something on the C drive and then come back a day or two later, there's a chance it's going to be gone, okay? So be careful. All right. Yep. So you can, yes. So the solution, the C drive is pretty normal, okay? The issue is that it gets wiped all the time. One solution, this is the classic version control. How many of you have done version control by USB drive? Anyone? Or, oh, you don't want to raise your hand. You don't want to admit it. Yeah, we've all done it. So you can have a flash drive and just keep your project on the flash drive, dump it out onto the C drive when you need to, and then work from there. That's fine. Put it back onto the flash drive when you're done. But the problem here is what happens when you get to a team project and you've got partners. What do? Well, you could give the flash drive to a partner, but that kind of stinks, okay? Better yet, if you know Git, I encourage you to use it. If you don't know Git, I encourage you to learn it. Git for GitHub Desktop. The GitHub Desktop program a lot of people are using these days is a wonderful program that simplifies a lot of the annoying kind of terminal and console commands that a lot of people don't really understand that well. And you can use that, right? You can use the C drive with some sort of github.com or GitLab repo, and you can push your changes to there, okay? And that really makes teamwork much better. A lot of team members decide that they don't want to work at the same time because merging Unreal Engine files is very difficult. Same thing with Unity. And so sometimes people will say, hey, I'm going to work for the next 2 hours. They push their changes to the repo, all good. And then the next person wants to start working. The first person stops. The second person pulls all the changes. It's all good. No conflicts, no stepping on each other's toes. That is the play for a lot of teams in here, okay? Some software limits, okay? In order to launch programs on these wonderful machines, you have to use the software that actually runs in the browser, okay? It's called Apps Anywhere, and you'll see all these programs available in kind of a menu, okay? You'll find programs like OBS for recording, VLC for playing stuff. You'll find a lot of versions of Unity, and, wait, TV will soon turn off. Why? Don't do that. There you go. All right. You'll find many versions of their game engines in there. Unity, you'll find Unreal Engine, stuff like that. You, in general, want to use the latest version that you can find, okay? In Unreal Engine, we just got a new version deployed. I hope it's stable. I hope it's good. I think it's Unreal Engine 5.4, okay? And the big thing you want to care about here is that you want to make sure your team is using the same version of the engine, okay? Otherwise, chaos will reign, and you'll have a very late night as you try and figure this out. Anyway, yes, so Unreal Engine, you will search for it. Now, it might fail to launch. You might hit an admin prompt, so you might have to launch the Epic Games Launcher instead, okay? And you're probably not going to remember all this. That's okay, all right? Just ask on Piazza or come to office hours, and we'll figure it out, all right? Or you can just watch this lecture again. Some small annoyances. So Unreal Engine has a very slow startup time, even if you're using a local disk drive location. So on the C drive, okay, it can be 10 plus minutes to launch that first project, okay? No joke. In the first time, like years ago, the first time we ran this course, we were on Unreal Engine 5.0, vanilla, okay, Unreal Engine 5. And many of the startup times were like 60 minutes. So students would walk in, they would get their project loading, and then they'd walk down to Pierpont, get some food, and come back, and maybe it's starting to finish by that time. All right. Now it's much faster, but something you can do to make it all faster is unclick this starter content tab. Okay. This checkbox right here includes a lot of extra materials that you don't need in the project, and that can cause the first time startup to be slow. When you are getting your headset working for the first time, these are meta Oculus headsets, and you might have to create an Oculus account, okay? You might have to switch the headset into developer mode in order to run your Unreal application. You'll see something like this when you put the headset on. And not going to lie to you, this stuff is annoying, okay? The good news is that once you've done it once or twice, it's really fast and it's no big deal anymore. But this is the kind of friction you're going to deal with in this first week, okay? Don't give up, okay? The more friction there is, the fewer developers are going to get through, the less competition you'll have for all your cool VR and AR apps, okay? I've got a story for you I'm going to tell you in just a sec. But you might have to create an account. You might get random crashes, very good for building character. They look like this. And just turn it off, turn it back on again, and you'll be okay. One big one that happened last semester, okay? If you log into one of these headsets, well, in general, don't log in, okay? If you can get away with it, don't log in, because we had someone last semester who logged into the MetaQuest headset with their Facebook account, okay? And Facebook is Meta. As a result of this, they also forgot to log out when they were done with it. So as a result, we had some staff members coming through and they put the headset on. Suddenly, they're seeing a lot of very spicy Facebook Messenger posts that they didn't really want to see, okay? And this is another thing that in general, right, you want to be careful with where you send spicy content, okay? If you've sent it via the internet or some digital form, you can basically guarantee that it will become visible to someone at some point, okay? So be careful, all right? And yeah, it'll be funny if you make that mistake. Okay, so this might sound pretty bad, all right? We're just talking about friction, all these ways you can stub your toe in this course. However, there are some serious upsides, okay? Serious upsides. Anyone know what these computers were? In the early days of computing, there was so much friction, okay? But if you could compute in the early days, you were truly special. Life at the bleeding edge is never easy, but is often very rewarding, okay? I've got a question for you. Do any of you know what this is right here? Yes. This is itch.io, a popular website for distributing games. In particular, these. Every square are all of the games that were released on February 18th, 2021, before 3 p.m. Okay? Ask me why I know this. It's because right there is my game buried in that list. Okay? Hundreds of games came out that day. Mine was one of them, and we were very lucky that we kind of got to the top. I think we ended up like second or third place for popularity on the day. But there are so many great games that get buried by the amount of competition in the indie game space. Okay? One of my friends, Nathan Hainish, lead developer at Stardock, local game studio, said modern game development often feels like yelling into the void. Okay? It's because when it comes to traditional indie game development these days, the barriers to entry are zero. The friction is gone. It's polished. It's smooth. It's been around forever. There's nothing bleeding edge about making an indie game in 2024. And that's actually an amazing thing, okay? If you have great ideas, if you want to communicate, share your art with the world, you can do it in indie games, okay? Not much friction getting in your way, okay? But there are consequences. The market is oversaturated, okay? Oversaturated. The competition is simply massive. With convenience comes competition, okay? A quick story for you, and then we'll finish up, all right? It's 2015. I'm in San Francisco, okay? I'm working in electronic arts on The Sims, and I go to a hackathon on the weekend. It is the Samsung Gear VR hackathon. It's really cool, actually. They have a headset that is relatively cheap, and it works when you take your phone and you pop it onto the end of the headset. Your phone becomes the main hardware, okay? And it displays two slightly different images, and you have this stereoscopic 3D effect, very basic VR, okay? It was really cool, okay? Samsung just came out with it like the previous week, and they were having a hackathon. On the line, 20 grand. Let's go. 20 grand on the line, okay, on this hackathon. And so I get together with a small team. We go there, all right? And we worked through the night, all right? It was 24 hours, and everything was broken. The API was awful. The libraries barely worked, okay? They were held together by duct tape. We had 24 hours to make a product, to make an app, make a game. And we only got it working in any sense after about 18 hours, okay? It was nothing but 18 hours of friction and fighting before we finally got it to run, okay? And when we finished getting it to run, we had a very basic game, okay? This is a game we made. You can see it right here. It's being run in the editor, so it's a bit different when it's on your head. But basically, oh God, basically you're chasing this UFO, and you can tap a button on your temple, on the headset, to shoot a beam that clears an object out of your way, okay? Your mission is to kind of run and weave your way without touching any of these blocks. And if you touch anything, we kill you in the worst fashion ever. We just send you flying into the air and you probably puke, okay? Anyway. Oh God. Ugh. Nasty, right? Let me be the first to say, I don't like this game. I don't think it's very good, okay? But it won. It won the entire thing, and it wasn't even close. You know why? Because with like 20 competing teams, and in 24 hours, we were the only team to get it working at all. Okay? We were the only ones who got anything of significance running in the Samsung Gear VR because it was such a mess, okay? There was so much friction, so many weird technical issues. It was a huge pain, not very fun to develop in, but as a result of all this pain and friction, our competition got wiped out, and we were the only ones who made it through. Heck yeah. And when they handed that 20K to me and I looked at it, my face dropped because you know why? It was 20 grand in the form of a JavaScript bootcamp scholarship. Damn it. And I already knew JavaScript, and I certainly didn't want to go to a boot camp. Fortunately, they also gave us like $3 grand in Amazon gift cards, and that is basically cash. Okay? So that was awesome. But I do think they bait and switched us a little bit. Anyway, the takeaway here, okay? The ecosystem was immature. We were at the bleeding edge, and it was not a pleasant experience all the time. But it was, when it worked, super cool, and maybe more importantly, it knocked out our competition, okay? It was a place where we could really make a difference, okay? We were walking a path that had not been mowed. There was no nice gravel or cement on that path. We were hacking our way through the woods, okay? But that is where all the treasure lies, okay? You want to have a great time walking on the nice paths down at the Arb or down at a park? You're not going to find anything crazy there, okay? But you walk off the beaten path, you start to experience some serious friction, that's where the weird, interesting stuff lies, okay? That's where all the treasure is. So please keep that in mind. This is all meant to kind of ease your pain when you get that latest Unreal Engine crash, okay? When things are a bit frustrating, keep in mind there aren't many XR developers out there, and students almost never make this kind of stuff, okay? But you will, all right? And I think you're going to have a great time. Because actually the friction has gone down pretty significantly, and the course has gotten, I think, quite a bit better at helping you navigate some of those issues. The final tips are this. If you can, try out your personal devices. Personal devices are super nice. Why? Well, you can install and customize them as much as you want. You can install anything you want on them. You can make them yours. And if you get it working really well, development becomes really nice, okay? And don't forget about the equipment lottery. This is due on Monday. You can fill this out. Please don't if you have a Mac, because Mac just generally, you can't really develop VR software on Mac very easily, okay? I think some headsets just flat out don't work. But fill this out. You can get yourself a headset maybe. We've got quite a few headsets. Your chances are pretty good. Don't be afraid of the Viz Studio, though. This is a really great space. And also, your peers will be here. Your instructors will be here. You have a wonderful staff running the Viz Studio. You can walk up to that desk where Nikki is right there, and you can ask her, actually, hey, like, can you help me with Unreal? And yeah, she'll probably say yes, right? Or if you've got crashes or if your headset isn't working, whoever's there will help you out. This is a great space. It really is. Please get version control working as early as you can. Get some experience with using Git with Unreal Engine, okay? Using Git on these machines, all right? I usually do it through GitHub Desktop. Really great program. Yep, use it for projects and assignments. So these are some Git ignores that you can use for Unity and Unreal, okay? That's a really good place to start so you know which code, which files you have to keep, which ones you can discard. Please settle on using one version of Unity and Unreal and try and use that everywhere for everyone on your team. And try and use a version that's in the Viz Studio, okay? Viz Studio has a pretty recent version of Unreal and Unity, but not the latest, okay? So if you use the absolute latest on your personal device, but then you want to bring that project into the Viz Studio, you'll find you might not be able to do that because Viz Studio only has semi-recent versions and not the latest, okay? Very important for teams. Please start your assignments ASAP, right? This is, again, not a super hard course and not super large amount of time needed, but you can really make things very nasty and stressful for you if you wait too long to start, okay? Again, like no one cares if you run into a weird bug and it's like the second day of the assignment. If it's the last day of the assignment, that tiny little bug that wouldn't be a big deal otherwise is going to be super stressful for you, very frustrating for you, okay? All right, going to lose all your hair like I did if you start your projects too late, okay? So don't be like me. All right, and please have no shame in requesting help, okay? From your instructors, even from your peers, right? Don't collaborate too tightly, but you can still ask each other for some help. Use your AI assistants, Google stuff if you want to, and yep. And remember this chain of help, okay? A strange issue occurs, give it 10 to 15 minutes to solve it yourself, but after that, ask on Piazza, ask GPT, and then take it to office hours, and you can go work on something else in the meantime, okay? Be good and grateful to the Visualization Studio staff. They work super hard. They've been super good to the course, and yeah, they'll help you out, okay? They will absolutely help you out, all right? Really quickly, Groundworks. This is the Visualization Studio, but right across the hall is Groundworks. This is a Macintosh laboratory. They have very good Mac Studio systems, and these Macintosh machines have Unity and Xcode, and you can plug your iOS device in and build your applications, okay? There's some friction here, too, that the assignments will try and help you and walk you through. But it's a really good place for iOS development. Really good if you have an iOS mobile device, okay? And if you have a Windows laptop, it's like your only hope, basically, okay? Because you cannot make iOS device apps on your Windows laptop. Try and use one machine repeatedly, because just like these machines, they're not networked, but they will wipe your device every few nights, okay? So anyway, make sure you get version control going, and we have no lecture on Monday, so I will see you on Wednesday of next week, okay? If you'd like to finish up your HoloLens, we have 3 headsets here. Otherwise, we have one more session that's going to happen. When's that going to happen? It is going to happen with Patrick, your IA. It's going to happen Thursday from 2:30 to 4 p.m., okay? And so I'll throw some music on. I'll be here for 2 hours. If you stick around even longer, I'll stay even longer. Otherwise, see you all later, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Do you think those computers in the office would be any powerful enough to run Unreal 5?
They're super old.
I know.
Oh, where are our devices? Hold on. Wait, bring them back, everyone. Okay. So, I'm not sure how we're going to form a line here. but I want to give you all a little bit of information right away. Please do not spend more than about 5 to 10 minutes with the headsets. They are super cool. But what's going to happen here is you put the headset onto your head, okay? If you got a big head like me, you might have to open it up, and then once you put it on the back, you can roll this little knob and it will tighten, okay? You can flip the visor up or down, which is kind of neat, okay? And once it starts, basically you'll be able to interact with the menus. You'll enter a PIN code to log in. The PIN codes and stuff are right here on the inside of the device package, in case you forget. You reach out with your fingers and you just touch the things you want to touch. It's very cool. It's like it's there in 3D space and you're actually pressing it. One of the most important gestures for this device is the pinch, okay? If you ever want to confirm something, typically you look at it and you go, burp, burp, and you have to do your motions up in front of your face. The cameras are up here. If you do the motion down here, it can't see that, okay? So remember the pinch, and if you ever want to go back to the menu, you hold up your palms in front of your face, and a button will form that you then press to go back to a different app or something like that. Okay, so that's pretty much all, and I encourage you to probably play RoboRaid first, but you can explore the other apps you find as well. Okay, so, geez, how do we do ordering stuff? I don't know.
What is the other slot? You said Friday?
What's that?
The other slot?
The other slot is right here. Right here. Thursday. Right, like that. 2:30.
It's kind of like rolling. If I could do it at 3, it's still fine.
Yeah. So we'll make it really quick, so we'll get through all of you pretty quick, okay? So here, just someone come grab a headset. And turn it on, the button on the back. And, yep, someone here. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. In the meantime, if you're waiting and it's taking a while, and you've got other stuff that you can do, then I can walk around and help you with that stuff as well. VR exploration, AR, all that stuff. So remember, passwords are right over here in the box. You might have to guess. Good luck.
Are there office hours this Friday too?
No.
I think it's just
Well, hold on. Let's see. I do think we have one Friday, right?
Friday.
Yeah. We've got one Friday. However, we have to turn the headsets.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not wrong.
Yeah, it's at 3.
Oh, here.
So remember, to get credit, just interact with apps, do RoboRaid if you can, and then take a selfie with your own phone, and that selfie is what will get you your points, okay? What's up?
A basic question about the hardware. What type of graphic cards do we need for if we want to buy
It's hard to say. I've seen it work okay with like a 1060 GTX, which is a fairly old card, but typically it's something.
This is so weird.
Something in the 20 series or probably. But there's a hardware test you can take that will tell you whether your laptop or computer is good enough. So there's one from Steam you can do. I think Meta also has it. Okay, I would also separate. I would walk a little bit away from each other so you don't shoot each other or run into each other. Okay, everyone watching remotely, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.